It's the Intergalactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells. I am Mel, with a frog in my throat. That is Sam, and we are joined today by our official trio chair here, Keela Cash from the Rap, and also our official Braun. So, how's it going, ladies? Happy pay-per-view day. Happy World's End pre-show day.
Hey everybody. Hopefully I don't sound too robotic. Apparently the rain is messing with my sound, so I apologize in advance if I sound like I'm being taken over by our robot overlords, which at this point I would almost welcome. So
It's 50-50, right?
Right.
Oh, we got the dog running off top 1 minute in. I love it.
It's either that or the siren, so that's all right though. It's real life over here at the Powerbombshells. Nikki's here. She says, "Happy pay-per-view day, Powerbombshells friends." And Nikki says that we love dog run-ins. We do love dog.
Well, I know that for me, it's going to be one of those kind of days because this is an unusual day for us to work. So
there we go.
We love to be here on Saturdays.
The screens was going out on my end, so sorry about that. So if I just stop talking, it's again the robot overlords are trying to take over.
Thanks USVA guy. Have a good show, gang. Appreciate it. Thanks for swinging by. Getting ready for the big New Japan time frame here coming up. I know you talked about that this past week.
Yes, I did.
So
so definitely check that.
Like the kickoff.
It is. It's the kickoff for 2025. We're just like so many things are happening this week and going into next week, and then there's also. Obviously, AEW is getting ready to move to Max to do their simulcast. WWE is getting ready to move to Netflix. There's Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty. I'm going to Collision next weekend. There's so much happening. We're very spoiled when it comes to wrestling.
I checked out the NFL on Amazon on Thursday night because the Seahawks were playing in that game.
Right.
So I was interested. I don't know, guys. You're going to have to... I mean, listen, America needs a new grid, and that's just real. And everyone needs to understand that you can talk about EVs and robot overlords and all that stuff all you want to. But there's a little hiccup, and it's called powering it all. And we don't have that. And so, like, these big dreams that people put out there on the TVs and in the media and all over the place is like, yeah, how are you going to power it, though? Like, they can't power the military mech suits. They can't power the drones for too long. They still have a power problem. I mean, the only reason, like, nuclear submarines and big giant, like, I mean, they literally had their own nuclear generator on them.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of thing you're going to have before you can really get crazy. So I think that people, the reality is, like, the network, like, if you're in a place where the connection's not great, I don't care which service it is. That's Amazon. I'm fairly well near, Detroit, but certainly near several major universities.
Right.
And I mean, I don't have fiber available in my area, but if it's struggling to keep up with the NFL like that, it's very interested to see. I mean, wrestling isn't as big, so I think it'd be a lot easier.
NFL, so I think WWE will probably be okay because
it's just the same argument as with
more people are tuning in to watch football and to watch Mike Tyson than they are to WWE or AEW for that matter.
That is very true. And the Amazon experience, I get what Mel was saying. Their streaming quality sucks. It is awful. It is horrific. Netflix, I did watch both NFL games on Thursday. The quality was good. So I don't know what fiber optics Amazon is using. They need new technology because their coverage of sports, I will say, sucks.
I should have.
Yeah, I heard Netflix. I didn't get to watch any games because that IRL stuff that was going on that kept me from it. And but I heard the Netflix experience was much better this time around. So that seems to bode well for WWE. And again, they'll not draw the same audience that the NFL does. I don't think there's no wrestling company that will ever pull in what the NFL is.
Well, and if they do, good job. Like
Good
wrestling,
job.
Yeah.
now
Exactly.
wrestling's now on par to be talked about with the other major sporting outlets. Like get a players union while you're at it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do that. Let's make sure the wrestlers do that too.
Oh my God. Can you imagine who they would pick as the president of the Wrestling Association for the performers out there? Who would be the president of that?
The head of the players, the talent union.
The talent union. Yes.
for professional wrestling.
Yes.
And you've got to, you would have to have, I mean,
it would end up being someone like, God, like Kevin Nash or JBL.
God,
or
no.
somebody.
Oh God, no. Oh, I said Kevin Owens. Yes, that would be my
Kevin
talent
Owens, yes,
rep.
Kevin Nash.
No, that would be a good pick, but it is inevitably usually some grifter or shill that they end up picking in the end. And it's like, no, if you want someone that's in the interest in the talent, yeah, Randy Orton would be like, great. That's somebody that's got a lot of
Maybe. I don't know. He's a third generation wrestler who's done nothing but WWE. I would
want a younger guy.
I don't know that I would trust Randy Orton to be making decisions for the boys.
The players unions almost never they're dinglings. I think like Tequila's point, they're almost always some dingling that you're like, yeah, okay. I wish I could remember. But anyway, that'll never happen, so that we don't have to worry about it because they'll never get it to it's shocking because even the theater and television and movie actors could get it together, and that's hard because that's in the same
right.
That's right in the same wheelhouse is getting a pro wrestling union together. Although like Ren Fairs don't have them either, so but it's just still too carny. Or like, I don't know. It's like we can never have free healthcare because we can't. And we can never have a players union because we can't. So wouldn't be free
because of like logistics or whatever.
Because of reasons.
Yeah, and everybody has to be on one accord, and that is going to be challenging.
Especially in the wrestling business. I mean, even per company, like not even trying to make them all work together. You've got even them having to make them work together within their own company.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at all the the sort of like bad stuff that came out of the women's locker room with AEW that, you know, we don't need to dwell on for too long, but unfortunately lives up
every locker room, whether it gets out or not.
Right.
Wrestlers.
Well, it's going to get out. It's wrestling.
Wrestlers fight each other all the time because
it's going to get out. It's wrestling. They love telling me. They love getting into fights and then going and like whispering to something like, "Don't tell anybody," so that everybody knows within like 48 hours.
Nikki said,
like the leakiest. Wrestling is the leakiest business in the universe.
Yeah, Nikki said Cody would try it. I mean, he had the opportunity to before AEW started, and he made it seem like they were going to, and then AEW actually happened, and they were like, "Nope, never mind." So,
well, because Tony does all the weird stuff he does, where he
not
does
just
contract.
Tony. No, but Cody and
I'm not just blaming Tony.
No, I'm just saying Cody and the Elite. That's their whole thing. We're like, oh, they made it seem like they were going to try to unionize and they were going to try to do certain things, and then that did not happen unless
they got their first paycheck.
Yeah,
hey, when that money came calling, and here's the thing: like a billionaire actually backed it up and said, "I have money. I'm going to put this into this company," and it actually came to fruition. So they said, "You know what, union? What is that?" What is Union? We don't
Union,
need that.
we don't know her.
Who's she?
We don't know her.
Who is she?
Where'd
I
she
don't know
ever?
her.
Who'd she ever be?
Right.
Oh, of course it has to be a girl. Well, a girl's was always a girl's fault.
Go back over here to this comment from US VA guy before this goes any more off the rails. He said, let's talk about getting you out to Tokyo in 2026. If people would like to fund us coming to, if you would like to sponsor us like they sponsor the wrestlers to come to Tokyo, then you can. Our DMs are open.
I really kind of want to sort of like put it in the universe to sort of, because before the pandemic, obviously we were going to do that,
Yeah.
and then that derailed it because they moved the G1 they were going to move the G1 to a different time because of the Olympics.
Right.
So we were going to go to Japan in the fall because they were going to move the G1 to the fall, but instead a mega virus went, yeah, screw you all, I'm going to eat your world. And then, so now we live here, whatever day it is, wherever we are on this timeline. And I was like, oh, because now like Jim Valley is talking about his getting back there finally because he's got a kidney and he's like able to travel and really like, and it's like, man. And I know that you can get close to Fumi by bringing him candy bars. I have like the full. He likes the American versions. He says they don't taste the same over there, which I totally imagine is true.
Yeah.
So you just bring him like candy bars. He loves Reese's Pieces.
It's like Kojima and his bread.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you'd have like someone to get you around. I've partially, just like Nikki and I have been like partially learning the language. I've thought about, because I would look.
No, I really like. I definitely want to go. It's just a matter of finances and things.
Well, financial and who knows? I mean, there's so much like. But anyway, yeah. I mean,
yeah. Because
believe me, if there is some way that could be possible and I could pull that together, I would definitely be on board for that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because Steven is going. He leaves on the 6 a.m. on the 1st, I believe, is what he told me. So he will be going, and then Lyric went last year and was talking about how she definitely wants to make that a return trip. So it's definitely a bucket list thing for sure.
Huge. Yes, and I really want to get.
Colin.
Sorry, Colin. I just really one of my my sister wants to jump on board now because my niece is getting older enough for that to be a good trip for her because she was going to get in on that trip at that point, even back then. And I get to see my friend from Ireland in Japan, which would be hilarious. And his Japanese has gotten better because he actually went from the Duolingo to there's a service called Italki. And you can get an actual tutor and you just pay them. He's become like pals with this person and they like communicate together, and he's run his Japanese before me a few times. I'm like, dude, you're getting good at that. Oh my God. And apparently he's been at his,
I didn't know that was, I think, you know what, that sounds vaguely familiar, that Italki, but that's really cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah. You can just get, some people just pay, it's almost like Fiverr, but a little better structured. Because you can kind of pay a tutor what you can afford and what they can sort of afford their time. So it was like, I think he was getting it for like €8 or something for short lessons. And then as they got along and realized he likes wrestling. So it ended up being just another way to get to know another person from another part of the world,
right?
But also connecting through that.
How lucky is that to be able to learn that? That's so cool.
Well, I mean, the idea, like, it's so funny. Not that he wouldn't have endeavored to do that necessarily, but he specifically endeavored to learn that language because of wrestling. Like, that's
right.
The big
and I think there's a lot of fans that are starting to kind of do that. But I see more and more fans. That's what they're doing is because they want to go to Japan or they want to understand Japanese wrestling more, like the commentary and stuff, and so that they are taking the initiative to learn Japanese, which I think is a really cool thing.
it's really fun. I mean, I do the same thing with the Spanish announcers. I'm a little better on Spanish because I've had experience with it all around the country. It's just one of the more commonly spoken languages in backs of houses and, that kind of thing. It's just reality. And so I know a lot of it, but God, I love listening to them. They are so excited. I mean, the matches are great, but they are so excited. There's times when I just love putting on.
They are.
Because I'm like, you know what? I need to get hype about wrestling. I'm just going to put on like the most recent CMLL and let those two go to town.
Yeah, that's good. We have USVA guy says, I'm all open to work for that. I'm trying to get a large amount of podcasters that cover New Japan and start them to the Dome. Ooh, I mean, sign us up.
I mean,
we'll figure if there's a way to make that happen, then maybe
we could group trip that for sure. I am really
gonna work that out. I'm all for that.
The like little hints though about All In, because of it being in Texas and because of Texas, it's not necessarily central, but it's fairly easy to get to for a lot of people.
Yeah,
like it's not a short trip necessarily. But it's like it takes probably about the same amount of time from here in Detroit, probably to get to like Dallas Fort Worth or something. Probably take about the same as to get to the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. They're talking about because a lot of fight game media people are talking about doing that because there's people that are very local and then also near enough that that's reasonable because it's potentially drivable for people like in.
It's the day before Nikki's birthday, so we've been talking about trying to get there. It's still some other things have come up that's going to might make it a little bit more difficult, but that's something that we're looking into to possibly doing too.
That's that one keeps coming up as the like big red flag in 25, where it's like I feel like a lot of people like Fight Game Media Con could happen like a mini. I mean, even if it's a handful of us, that's a pretty good solid. Like,
yes. Nikki says that she has to come too because she's my assistant.
Well, that's Bob's reason. Fortunately, because of being disabled. I mean, unfortunately, the benefits. The one thing that will work out for that is that I actually get to have a caregiver that I need with me, which I legitimately do because blind on the left. Can't drive, can't do any of these things. This guy's gonna have to come with me. Too close to Victor. Who's Bob? Bob is my husband.
Yes, and somebody asked who Nikki is. She's my sister, and she has come with me to stuff before.
Nikki is
she helps me with the Ashe interviews. She helps me get situated and all that good stuff, and she record because I have to go back and have the audio to listen to. She records the interviews while I conduct them so that I can go back and listen to, so that I don't have to hold both things. She helps me out a lot with that.
Nikki doesn't need any of that because she can just be like, hi, I'm here to have fun.
That's true. Hello, Hassan. It's nice to see you in the chat, and I'm glad to be back finally. And my voice has been coming back, and so all these people that's like, do you want to make up for the podcast you missed? Here, let's go do all these things. So yes. Hopefully we will get that. Colin says the DDT Ultimate Party show was awesome today. Jun Akiyama and Yukio Naya and Mao, and is it Toya? I'm mispronouncing that. Versus Endo and his partner, whose names escape me, weren't fantastic. Well, that sounds like Japan's already getting their good shows in and they're kicking off the festivities and the big shows with with good stuff. That's good to hear. And I saw that Takeshita is doing something with DDT. Sometime I forget. It was in the other day when I was on speaking of strong style. It may have been Colin even who said it, but somebody in the chat was saying that Takeshita has a DDT match because we were trying to figure out if he was still involved with DDT because he's obviously going to the New Japan show and how often he'd be in New Japan. And we were informed that he has some DDT commitments as well, it looks like. So Takeshita sounds like he's going to be very busy while he's in Japan.
He got over there. He should be. They should be working that.
Yes. So should we get into the World's End stuff then? Just segue right in with Takeshita.
Works for me.
And
all right. So I have my little thingies I'm going to add here, and we'll go in the order that they've decided.
Well, the 0 hour I just put on there just in the order that I remembered them, so I have no idea what order they'll air. They were announced last night after, or it was announced like towards the end of before Rampage was killed by Jon Moxley. They announced 3 matches. As far as I know, they have not added a 4th match, but I haven't checked AEW social media today, so I don't know if they have added a 4th 0 hour match. But it is Tony, and it would not surprise me if he adds in something with the Premier Athletes aren't on this card, and it's a Saturday, so I won't be surprised if Premier Athletes get put into something, and maybe Beast Mortos. Oh, thank you. Colin says that Takeshita has a DDT match at some point, but he can't remember when. Thank you. So yeah, we have the up and coming new arrival in AEW, Toni Storm. She has been, she made her ROH debut this week. She's been making her Rampage debut. I got the other day, I was on Instagram and I got an ad that came up for Collision, and Toni said she is making her Collision debut in Charlotte. So I will get to see this new upcoming star on next Saturday. So I'm excited for that. And she is taking on Layla Gray, who last night, No, actually it was last week. I know I missed last week's Rampage because I was watching Final Battle. So we watched it last night. So she had a match on last week's episode, I believe it was. And she's been picking up some victories too. So we have some the veteran, I guess, in this thing. I guess it would be the veteran Layla Gray against the young upstart Toni Storm in this situation. So do either of you have thoughts on this one?
Let's see. Okay. So I will start with, I think that Layla Gray has done a great job. She's been given opportunities. She's taken them. I think it's really great for her that she's on this card and that she's really sort of pushing it out there. Standing out in the women's division that's really strong right now. This will be a great match for her. I obviously suspect Toni will win this match. I think it will be a good match, though. I think it's a good opportunity for Layla Gray to continue to show out. And I mean, I love what Toni's doing right now. So I'm just, more than anything, it's like the match is almost this. Giving her the match, but it's almost a second thought to like, what's she gonna do? Is there gonna be a story here? Like, what's gonna go on a little bit? So that's my feel.
Right. Yeah. There's this theory that it's based off of another movie. I can't remember the name of it, but they were saying that in this movie, this woman has 3 personalities type of thing, and and so obviously we'd have timeless Toni Storm, and an outcast Toni. And so they were saying that it seems like there's and she has, I believe, somebody that helps her in that movie. Their name is Luther. So it seems like Luther will be, I'm wondering if they're going to bring him in before they go to Australia, or if he will come in while they're in Australia or something like that. So it seems like that's kind of what they're doing, perhaps. Keela, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Well, the young upstart Toni Storm, the rookie in training, bright-eyed, inexperienced, finding her way in this business. I'm all for this. I think the entire concept is brilliant. Toni's playing it to the hilt as if she has no memory of the last 2 years. Like nothing has happened of note. I'm new here. I'm learning the ropes. I'm just trying to find my way amongst legends. And I love that. And it's giving Inception. I love the 3 phases of Tony Storm.
Yes.
We're going to see each phase month by month. I actually can't wait for Luther to show up so Tony can be spooked to say, who is this? You look oddly familiar. Do I know you? Like, and then go from there. So maybe Luther would trigger a memory or two about Timeless, which will lead to Timeless ultimately coming out of this. I love everything that Tony's doing. Being on 0 Hour is another touch of like chef's kiss. You would want to be in this position as an upstart, allegedly, to get Layla Gray over too.
Sure.
and ultimately have Layla Gray be the seasoned veteran in this match. I love the reverse psychology.
Yes. This is fun. I think it'll be a really good match. But yeah, I feel like even though Layla is the veteran, I think Tony is wanting to prove herself here in this match as with getting Tony time over. So I feel like Tony Storm is going to continue her winning streak here.
I mean, it works. They even dropped a like Warner Brothers, Max dropped a press release about the 2 new shows that are coming to Max, and it's like they're Dynamite and Collision. Oh, they're new to Max. I mean,
that's true.
So
that's true.
All righty, let's go these guys.
And then, of course, because we have Layla Gray in this match, we definitely have to have her people who she's kind of being torn between the top flight and Lio Rush and Action Andretti, who are now on opposing sides instead of being together. And they caused Layla to get hurt on Collision a couple of episodes ago. It was a big mess with them, and this thing is a big mess. So this should be interesting how this turns out. And of course, everybody's favorite veterans, the Outrunners, are in this match with Top Flight. And then we have Murder Machines, because we are very creative with names when it comes to Brian Cage. We always have to include machine in his name. So we have the Murder Machines, Brian Cage and Lance Archer here. So you have thoughts on this one, Keela?
I expect this to be a really fun party match. Like, Murder Machines is a crazy name. It's outrageous.
So that's Lance Archer and Brian Cage.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually
Machine.
I need this in my life as a tag team. Like, Murder Machines is a tremendous name. Trademark this immediately. I'm here for it. I love how the babyface team is torn between the heel team right now due to their previous allegiance to each other, and now they're kind of going their separate ways via this match. As I will continue to say, even though I was disappointed with our last pay-per-view in terms of the opening match, it let me down a bit, but still, the most over tag team will be the Outrunners.
Of course. I think that's what everybody's looking forward to the most in this match.
They're the most over with me.
Yeah,
No lie detected.
Yeah, I had a feeling they started once they put Lance and Brian Cage together as a tag team. I was like, oh, he's getting ready to drop this TV title, which thankfully he did drop it, the ROH TV title, and he dropped it to Commander, which was a really fun match, the Survival of the Fittest match that they did. So I'm glad to see. So I guess Brian Cage and Lance Archer are kind of going to tag on both ROH and AEW. It seems Brian Cage gets to go between both, and so I guess he'll be bringing Lance Archer with him, but this week we're going to put him on World's End. So do we have thoughts on who's going to win this?
I can't go wrong with Murder Machines and Lio Rush and Action Andretti. Like, when you have Murder Machines on your team, you better win.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's probably
very
right.
Fair.
I mean, my heart wants the Outrunners to win, but I think that my brain knows that it's going to be Murder Machines, Lio Rush, and Action Andretti, because if they're trying to do something with that, they kind of have to win. Hopefully they'll keep them together and keep using Lance Archer, because Lance Archer is awesome, and he's another one of these people that's out there on the roster that it's like, book him. He's so great.
Yeah, and he's also like, when he's in New Japan, he's like turns it up another notch when he's there. So I won't be surprised if he finds his way on one of those cards in Tokyo somehow.
This should be fun, though.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it and I'm like,
I'm looking forward to it, especially because like we're getting to the point also. I believe Leo and Action at some point will have because Private Party is not defending their titles on this card, which I didn't realize until last night. And Leo and Action will be getting title shots, and so I'm wondering if they're going to do that. If they're going to do that at Fight for the Fallen on the 1st. If they may even do it on Collision, just because Collision is basically where they're at a lot of the time, especially like Leo and Action Andretti are there and obviously Top Flight. So could potentially maybe Charlotte gets it because it's the first show of the year or the first Collision of the year. So that might be it, but I could see it being a Fight for the Fallen match, that they do a title that for Max, that they put a title match on there. I could see that being the case. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us. Mark says that Tony Storm wins, and then he has that Team Rush wins. Yeah, I think Team Rush definitely, like you said, we've got the murder machines on it. You can't go wrong with a murder machine.
I mean, if you have a murder machine on your team, you basically shouldn't lose, right?
Right. That would be the I think, yeah.
I mean, in my world, if does the other team have a murder machine? No.
I mean,
Yes, they
Outrunners.
Yes.
The Outrunners.
All right, fair enough. They'd murder you in the best way possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we better move on, or we'll just
Okay.
mark out about the Outrunners again for an hour. All right, next. The match that none of us are probably on this podcast.
God.
About.
Funny. Well, yeah. Yeah. You can imagine my reaction when I saw this last night. And then I saw it was funny. Lucha Blog posted it as well and said, "Who figured that something about because they've both been heels in AAA, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be very wrong because I don't follow AAA closely." But I know that I think they may have been working together at some point when they were both down there, and now they're against each other. But this match actually stems from Final Battle because QT faced Jay Lethal in a match that nobody asked for. And Jay Lethal, it was funny. Jay Lethal cut a promo and basically was like, I don't want to be mean, but I don't know how else to say this. I don't want to wrestle you because I'm trying to get back in the title picture and you're nowhere near the title picture and I don't want to wrestle you. I don't want to waste my time with you, which I thought was really funny. But so QT ended up, he was channeling NWO. He came out like he had the opening. It said this, you know how NWO used to have like this video was sponsored by, and it was like back when they were black, it was NWO Black and White. So basically that's what QT was doing, which I love a lot of that, but I don't love QT. So
I used to have that notification tone as
fantastic.
One of my people that I worked with, that they were just like right on the edge. They were like, they gave me that feeling that announcement gave me. And so it was perfect. I have this habit of either programming people's names into my phone as funny things that make me smile if I especially with someone that I don't want to hear from, but they're like on your contact list. I program their name in as something funny, or I make their ringtone something funny, or both.
Right.
So I've old bosses used to have very hilarious nicknames as they rang up on my phone. And that announcement was one for someone that I used to work with on
fantastic. Yeah, so he ended up wrestling Black Machismo instead of Jay Lethal, and so it ended up being this kind of insane thing. I only partially watched it because I was right. I ended up covering it for Wrestling Inc. and I was writing Danhausen's return, and I think that's what I was writing about was Danhausen's return to Ring of Honor. But anyway, so I only partially paid attention to this match, and then so Jeff Jarrett got involved because they were doing basically somebody was like, this is turning into a TNA match, because it's Black Machismo, and how they were like QT was basically doing the Hogan stuff, and Jeff Jarrett got involved. Oh, and he brought out Black Machismo came out with Karen Jarrett, and they did kind of like the Miss Elizabeth type spot with her, and so it was just an insane thing. And so for whatever reason, they've decided that this needs to be a World's End match on 0 Hour. I mean, at least I guess it's on the pre-show and it's not taking away from the main card, but there are tons of other people I'd rather see in this spot than either of these two. And Hassan said, do we need a Jeff Jarrett match in 2024? There are so many wrestlers deserving these positions, in my opinion. I mean, this could have been a women's match, but what do I know?
Or younger people. Like, what do we have
a vote for QT Marshall here for who's going to win.
Hopefully you won't cut a promo or try and talk on the microphone.
Oh, God. Keela, do you have any thoughts on this, or do you care to venture who may win this match?
I want to hear Keela's thoughts on this, because between the two of you, I was wondering who would sigh harder when they saw it.
I think that when you put the graphic up, I sighed, Sam sighed at the exact same time. Because once again,
it became one massive sigh.
On the replay, you're going to hear it, like the collective, like, oh God. But once again, I am Sam. Sam is me. I thought that we had an understanding with QT a long time ago. I thought we agreed he was going to strictly stay backstage and train the future, but he's been squeezing his way onto TV for Ring of Honor. He's been squeezing his way to these little pre-shows for AEW, for these pay-per-views, and now you milked another one. And Jeff Jarrett snuck in there too, and I am offended. I am appalled by this, but I am pulling for Jeff, because I will say for Jeffrey Jarrett for this year, he has delivered some great promos, has given some great performances against Hangman, specifically, rose to the occasion for the Owen. So I appreciate that. So I feel like these are like two game checks going to two guys that have risen above expectations, even though I need QT to understand his role in life, and that is to get off my screen.
Yes. I don't think I could have said it better. But I will agree. I guess I'm gonna pick Jeff Jarrett.
You have to give it to Jeff Jarrett, because as much as Jeff Jarrett wasn't supposed to be he also was supposed to be helping with venues and all of that. There's two guys that aren't supposed to be on our TV right now. There's
a guy in another company that's not.
But I mean, I do agree that like
the
better
his way on TV too.
I just think the better, like in terms of like, for at least like Jeff Jarrett's got something going on. It may not be something that's for me, but it does strike with people, and he's got something going on. Like QT Marshall is just like, he's so there. It's almost embarrassing. It's like
QT's gonna politic his way onto Revolution, and he's gonna go through all of Jeff Jarrett's little. Their little, I just blanked on what their name is. He's gonna end up like wrestling Sanjay Dutt at Revolution or something.
I'm like what obscure name could you throw up there? That actually, I mean, I'd rather see Sanjay on there than see. This match is how many other people could we have picked for Jeff Jarrett?
If all people.
If we had to be stuck with one of these,
I mean,
guys,
they could have done Jeff Jarrett versus Satnam Singh, and I would have been more interested in that.
Yeah.
You know what? He might have pulled 3 out of Satnam.
Yeah.
A 3-star match. Yeah. I believe that.
I could see it. Satnam has had he got a couple of victories on Rampage, RIP Rampage. He got a few victories over there. He made actually, I think if I remember right, Satnam ended up main eventing like 2 Rampages. So good for him. Good for Satnam.
I guess this is better than Jericho, right?
Actually, Mel, Sam asked a very good question. Is it though? Is it?
I mean, I'm done with Jericho, and I'm way over him, and I want Fozzy to go on the longest world tour in the history of world tours, and he can't. He has to be booked on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yes,
and then Sundays.
I'm a hapless optimist. Okay, not hopeless, just hapless.
Yeah, see, Hassan says we could have had Viva Veda versus Red Velvet for the ROH TV Championship. Yeah,
okay, I'm into that. That's
put an ROH match on here. Listen, he puts random ROH title matches on AEW programming. Do that.
Yeah, when I pulled
this is a match that's happening. I mean, at this rate, let's see, this isn't Orlando. I wouldn't be surprised if Big Boom, AJ, and Justice if they end up in the Rizzler, maybe they'll make an appearance tonight. That wouldn't shock me either.
Maybe that's what this is for or something, I guess.
Maybe. All right, we can. I think unless there's
Move
anything
it,
else you guys would like to
take them
add, I
off
think
the
I'm done with
screen
this.
already. When I saw it on the card and pulled that graphic, I just heard both of you sighing in unison, and then I actually
And
heard
then you
it
actually
live,
got
and I
it.
was like, it was as
It was
loud
you
and
had
exactly
a premonition. In the words of Matt Hardy, you had a premonition.
I did. In the meantime, this is the only thing, so we're gonna have to talk about both of these.
Yeah,
The only graphics I could find were the ones
that's fine because the order that the card is in our notes I just took from Bleacher Report. I have no idea.
That's what
I assume that these two probably will open the show because we've got the semifinals and then the finals happening later. Bleacher Report has the final being the main event. I don't know how accurate that is, but I just went with it. We'll see. But yeah, so I have some thoughts. I'm sure Keela has some thoughts about a certain man in this match. Eddie made a good point. Jeff Jarrett's going to get a payday no matter what. Eddie's got that right.
I mean,
all right.
He's been in it long enough. He knows how. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's going to work. Talk about Carney. He's
mean,
going to get paid. Good for him. Listen, work this. I mean, him, I guess maybe he's showing QT his ways because QT has finessed a paycheck, so a payday. So maybe he's learning from Jeff Jarrett, who is probably one of the best at it. So
what a terrifying thought.
Somebody had a tweet the other day, and it was like, I think it was Jeff Jarrett? I think it was. And they were like, he's now wrestled for, and it was like this, basically because of ROH now, he's wrestled like on every major company ever. I was like, well, when you wrestle for 7 decades or however long it's been, but good for him. At least he is. Sometimes I would not prefer him on my TV, but he can be entertaining, and he is. I know that he is. A lot of people love him, so I would. So it's for them, not for me. And so if they enjoy it, good for them. I'm not gonna, but it's not for me. But let's talked enough about Jeff Jarrett today. Let's go on to this Continental Classic semifinal. So this obviously is the first time that they've done the semifinals and the final on the same show. Tony was asked about it on the media call. He said he thought it would just make things more interesting, which I would agree with. He thought it would make things more interesting as far as the pay-per-view goes and as far as the Continental Classic goes. At this point, he said that he thinks the Continental Classic is perfect the way that it is. He said, if you ask me in 11 months, or he said, if you shoot me forward 11 months into the future, I probably would not change anything. And so it seems like this is going to be the format moving forward, unless something changes. And so we have Kyle. We're going to have obviously the rematch that everybody's been waiting for is Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. And so, Keila, what are your thoughts on? Or I guess we could talk about both. We'll just talk about them separately. What do you think about Fletcher versus Ospreay, and who do you predict is going to win this one?
Man, I'm excited for this rematch. They tore it up at the last pay-per-view for Full Gear, and I expect them to do it again. Ospreay is like, let me end the campaign right now, Wrestler of the Year, in terms of like what I've been doing, pure wrestling all year long, to potentially be the opener and the main event to close the year out. I think would be huge for him. I think this match will also be spectacular. Per the usual for Will Ospreay matches, Kyle Fletcher, he's grown so much as a heel. I love him. His time will come, but in this instance, I think that Will gets the win back, and we'll circle back to match number 2 because I think that what we're going to get is something incredibly special in the main event.
Okay. We'll circle back to, we'll save the winner of the main event to the end, but we will circle back to the other match in a moment. So Mel, what are your thoughts on Fletcher and Ospreay too?
Yeah, I think that win was very specific to put Kyle in a position where, and I mean, he of course rose to the occasion and has been just getting better and better and better and taking, I mean, he is what Will Ospreay actually thinks he is. So I mean, continuing this. And I don't think a loss will hurt either one of these guys at this point. But when you look at the bigger picture, I think I'm going to have to say that Will does get his win back. And I think he'll do it in pretty stunning fashion. Like, it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be like he walks over. I think it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a match. Like, you get some good strong style out of this.
We're gonna do a match of the year contender on the like right end at the end of the show, probably. I mean, at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think I'm with both of you. I think this match is going to be incredible. The first one was great. Kind of surprised that we're running it back this fast, but it makes sense with the story. I mean, obviously with the tournament situation, that they're that we're doing it here. I mean, a win for Kyle would be huge, and it kind of will cement what he's already been doing. But I guess that kind of already happened when he beat Will the first time. Like, he cemented, all right, I am the next like when we're looking at like who in 2026 or 2025, like who even 2026, like Kyle Fletcher is probably going to be he may even be in Will Ospreay's spot by then. So a loss, Fletcher's a lot, like you said, a loss is not hurt either one of them. I do think Ospreay wins here. I do think he's going to get his win back, and then they're eventually going to have a rubber match. And I feel like Ospreay is going to get the win here. Lady B says that the proto star Kyle Fletcher better win, but I have a feeling that won't be happening. And then she has the giant sigh like we did. And she said, and yes, she's got to say his full name. I mean, as you should. The proto star is Kyle Fletcher. I mean, I get it. He's
awesome. And he's earned it.
I love him. And I hope that, as much as I miss Aussie Open, like I hope we eventually get an Aussie Open reunion down the line, but I'm hoping that big things are coming for Mark Davis. I really hope that he doesn't get left behind in all of this. Like, and I hope they have good things and plans for Mark Davis. While Kyle is tearing up the singles division over here, I hope that Mark does the same thing, even though I am enjoying the very meaty team of Powerhouse Hobbs and Mark Davis. I have enjoyed seeing those matches. I would not be mad at a tag team if you're going to do that. I wouldn't be mad at that tag team. And
I feel like Mark Davis is a really strong wrestler. I think that there may be a future thing, but he's really good in the role.
Yeah, we saw that. What was that tournament that we were talking? It was a BOSJ where they split and they both did the singles stuff.
Well, that was how I really feel like I discovered them, was they were as singles wrestlers. Was that tournament?
Yeah, and they both proved that they could go. And I was like, they're already dominant as one of the best tag teams of the last few years, but they can definitely clearly we can see what Kyle can do in the singles. But I think people will be surprised by what Mark Davis can do if he is given the opportunity. So hopefully that happens. And then we have the second part of the semifinal. We have the Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada facing off against Ricochet, who as the tournament progressed, he started basically he had a heel turn in the middle of the tournament because things weren't going his way, and so he decided to make it go his way. And then he has done some questionable things on Twitter and made me not really want to see him. So Ricochet, if you have missed it, has in his excuse as his heel persona, he is retweeting Andrew Tate. He is following Andrew Tate, who is being investigated for sex trafficking in Romania. This is well known. This is not, I can't pretend I didn't know this. And so this is a choice that Ricochet has decided to make for whatever reason. Some people say, oh, he's just trying to get heat. Well, there are a lot of ways to get heat without doing these things, but he has gotten to the point where I don't really want to see him on my TV right now, and so I just hope Okada beats the shit out of him personally, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I do think Okada's winning. I just think that Ricochet will make it harder, which is unfortunate because Ricochet was starting to get over as a heel on his own by saying that they were pulling his hair and he was playing into the people throwing toilet paper and things like that. This was not necessary for any reason. But he's just completely turn me against him within 24 hours. And so that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, I guess I'll
So
go
what have
next.
you get so far with that?
Well, I mean, as much as that may be true, it feels more likely that Ricochet wins this and he would wrestle Will Ospreay for the title, because that would be like the match that we've all been talking about. Now, it may be too soon for that match, so there might be some question there. Okada and Will have tons of history, so it's not like them fighting it out for this championship. I think we had someone say that Okada is winning. They think Okada's winning.
Yeah, I think Okada's. I mean, yeah, we'll go back to that, but yeah, Hassan thinks Okada's winning the whole thing.
I don't know. Are they gonna do? I don't know if they're gonna swerve or they're gonna keep it that way, and they're gonna have Okada win this. And I mean, I just.
I have thoughts on it, but I'm going to say if this is going to be the main event match, I guess do we want to talk about this, whatever this potential main event is? I mean, again, we don't know that this is the main event. It could still be the 4-way, but according to Bleacher Report, they have it listing as the main event. So do we want to talk about this now as the main event or circle back to it at the end?
I don't have a vote. We can do it either way.
Keela, would you like to weigh in here?
Yes. So I am with Sam. Ricochet had to do something completely idiotic for me to side-eye him now. He's now joined the Logan Paul, I'm side-eyeing your ass club indefinitely. Like, you're talented, but I can't stand you. I will begrudgingly watch your matches and root for your opponent. So Okada, whoop his ass for me. And I'm looking forward to the W on that end. And give me Ospreay versus Okada. That was what I was alluding to.
Right.
Main event that show. And I think that Okada will remind everybody, you know who I am. Like Kevin Durant, you know what I do. Since y'all want to talk about me, about, I'm coasting, I'm not doing enough. Well, surprise y'all, bitches.
Yeah, you know what? It's true. That's
yeah, I think the final is gonna be Okada Ospreay.
There's history. There is history there. I mean, Will has only beat him clean the one time. That's just, I mean, their history between and their like record in New Japan, because they went back and forth. That was like the big thing when Will finally beat him clean for once, because he beat him once before that, but there was interference in BS. So the only time that,
and they're both they're in like different places too.
Japan canon, but still, like,
right.
Plus Okada
that carries over here.
I mean, Okada was the one who said that Will would be better than him at 30 if he kept going the way he was. So it's like Okada was on the Will Ospreay bandwagon first. That's why he was wrestling him.
Yeah, I think we're getting Okada Ospreay, and then I had a theory, but actually Jeremy had a really good theory. If you watch Speaking of Strong Style this week, that Okada wins, and this is where Omega returns. That Omega comes for Okada, and and that's his prediction is. Omega comes, because we got the little tease last week about Omega coming back. We haven't gotten anything since then, and so
didn't even think about that.
So I thought he might come in the World Championship match. That was my theory, was they would close the show and end with Omega coming for Jon Moxley, but they may hold off Omega Moxley, and maybe Jeremy is correct. Maybe they do Okada Omega and they set that up for All In, since Forbidden Door is not till August. Perhaps Okada Omega 5 happens at All In Texas.
And then I'm definitely going, because that was my match that I was supposed to get.
I mean, he didn't say that part about the All In. That was that's my theory. But his theory was that Omega comes for Okada. Before
I love it. I love it.
If that's the case, if we're doing Omega Okada, I'm thinking Omega Okada 5 happens at All In, because technically, I don't. A Forbidden Door is not till August. B, this is now an AEW match instead of a New Japan match because they're both here in AEW. So I feel like All In is the better show for that. So if that's that, I could see that. USBA guy says Okada Ospreay earlier this year was good, but it was nowhere near as good as their other matches. Lady B says that she wants to hear a battle cry so bad. Me too. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
I would levitate in my house if that happens tonight.
Yeah.
I will ascend.
You know what? I'm gonna take Jeremy's bold prediction, and I think that might be my bold prediction. My bold prediction is taking Jeremy's idea.
That's the boldest prediction possible, and I love it. And I would finally get the match that was stolen from me by AEW.
Yeah, because he said, because I told him, I was like, I think Moxley Moxley, I still, which we will get to, I still think Moxley's going to retain. And I was like, and then Omega comes for him because he's trying to take his company. And he was like, oh no, I think he's coming back for Okada. And I was like, wait a minute. For whatever reason, my brain did not even register that possibility.
Right over me too. I can't believe I totally didn't think of it.
And now that's all I can think about is Okada, because I want Okada Omega 5 so bad that I can't even think about anything else. And then Mark Justice is over here trying to stir the pot, asking how the internet would react if Ricochet won this whole thing. Well, they had a lot to say about him and what he was doing on the internet this week, and so I'm sure it would be perfectly normal reactions.
Yes, I think it'll be a full-on celebration on the timeline if Ricochet were to win. I will turn off my phone if that happens, so I won't see anything. But we can't bury the lead here, ladies, because our friend Robert has dared to do something drastic in the event Will Ospreay loses.
Yes. I will have to go back to this comment. I'm glad you reminded me because it got moved away from me. But yes, Robert says that if Ospreay loses, he will shave his beard. And Hassan says, no, Robert, not the beard.
Anything but the beard. That's a bit. Wow.
Venkin said he hopes everybody brought toilet paper.
Yes, if Ricochet wins, we riot. Yes,
they're gonna go to hopefully. You know what? Maybe the Costco guys got a good deal on toilet paper,
wholesale toilet paper
that they could bring to the crowd.
I haven't been on social this much this week, and now I feel like I'm glad. I mean, I missed that he was doing.
I missed most of it because I had a lot going on Thursday, and then I came online and I saw people talking about it, and I was like, oh no. And then I saw, Body Slam had an article about it, and So so I had missed it happening in real time, but I saw a lot of discourse about it, and people had some thoughts. And then
I think your stolen bold prediction is way more realistic.
Stolen bold prediction. Yes, I'm gonna tell Jeremy I stole it from him.
I like that better.
Yes. So now I'm
keep your beard on for G.
Yes, Robert, that's your gimmick. Damn it, keep your beard.
Don't mess with beards. Okay.
Don't mess with
it. As a woman married to a bearded man with a spectacular beard, I bought him all new special. I bought local this year. I went with the Detroit Beard Collective.
Fancy.
They make excellent products.
Very nice. If they will sponsor
Keep that beard.
Tell them if they.
I know they grow back. I know they do, but you don't want to risk it. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Speaking of Takesha and Powerhouse, which we have both mentioned, and I actually want to go back. USVA guy had a comment about Mark Davis, so let me get that back up here. Before we get into this one, he said that he believes Mark Davis has already been left behind. Unfortunately, his New Japan Cup run was wonderful. It was, and I am afraid that he has gotten. I don't think anybody, I think people knew that Kyle Fletcher was good. I don't think they expected him to take off in the way that he did. And you can't stop that just to put him back in a tag team. And I hope that they find something for Mark Davis, because Mark Davis is good.
Yeah, that injury sucked. The timing sucked. It
sucked. I hate that for him. I hope they figure out something for him. I will always be rooting for Mark Davis. Okay. So unless something comes out about him, I will I will always support him. But so here we have the AEW International Championship with Takeshita taking on Powerhouse Hobbs. Keela, what are your thoughts on this one?
Ooh, so this could be a very sneaky, great match. Both guys are awesome. This is a very different style of match for Takeshita in particular against Powerhouse, who is obviously a powerhouse in every way. I expect this match to be great. It's very ironic to me that because of a clerical error, this match is happening, but I believe they're going to deliver. If y'all caught the joke, if y'all caught it, wink, wink. But I believe this match is going to be great. Potential show stealer. I got Takeshita retaining the championship. And I just want for 2025 to be a transformative year for Powerhouse. I want him to be pushed consistently. I want him on pay-per-views. I want him to win his matches. He won't win tonight, but I do want a sustained push for him as a babyface where he wins a major championship sometime in the new year.
Yes. And also, I want to mention before I forget, Takeshita is taking on Shingo Takagi on at Wrestle Kingdom, and he is it's for the Never Openweight Championship, so it is not for Takeshita's title, but I do want to mention that is also coming. So he's could potentially have two bangers very close together.
Nice.
So, Mel, what are your thoughts?
I agree that Takeshita is probably going to retain here, but I also agree that Powerhouse Hobbs needs to be pushed and not like this herky-jerky. We get him to the edge and then pull back, and then I just give him the ball.
Him like Wardlow.
Just there's a lot of times when they've done that where they've like burned out their own stars, and I just don't do that with him. He is so right there. He's improving all the time. He's gotten better on cutting promos. He's like, this could be a really defining match for him regardless of win or loss. Like, this is like, Takeshita's super hot right now. He could really show out, and it's a good vehicle to give him a push, even if you don't give him the championship. I think because of where Takeshita is right now, I think he needs to maintain, like, he has to have the championship.
Yeah,
but I could not agree more with Keela. Like, this is somebody you're not using. This is another one of your people you are not using enough. You are not putting out there enough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he is coming back from injury. He's only been back a few weeks. He missed a lot of time due to injury. But before that, he was basically, they were doing a lot of the Wardlow stuff with him where they'd push him, pull him back, push him, pull him back. And then the injury happened, which set him back even more. But I agree. I do think Takeshita retains here. I think he's going to go into the Tokyo Dome with this title, even though that title is not on the line. I do think he's going to go in to wrestling, especially wrestling somebody like Shingo Takagi. You know, I think they're going to have him go in with as much momentum as possible. But Powerhouse has a really great match, and I hope that for 2025, they position him a lot better than they have. Mark Justice is going to go with a title change here. He thinks that Powerhouse Hobbs is going to get the win. You know, I mean, I would not be mad at it.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Happened. Yeah, I just hope they push him. Robert says that AEW needs to push young talent like Hobbs and not hire any more ex-WWE talent. And then let's see here. And then they see that too many ex-WWE talent in AEW. At this point, everybody works. There's limited places on TV to work, and it's just going to keep happening. And AEW talent's going to go over there. TNA talent is going to show up in different places as well.
All right.
And so, well, they have already teased that Kenny is coming back to AEW soon. I mean, perhaps they hold him out to Fight for the Fallen, which is definitely possible. Maybe they do save him for the big HBO show, but I could see him making an appearance tonight. I don't think he wrestles at all until after, obviously Gabe Kidd is going to be the first match. Like, I don't think if he were to show up tonight, like, I don't think he's wrestling on Fight for the Fallen. I don't think he will wrestle after he wrestles Gabe Kidd. But they have been hinting that he could be coming. So maybe they do. I mean, having him show up on HBO, on Max, on your simulcast, that's a pretty big splash for them if they did that. So there's always that possibility that he shows up. But Vengen says that he doesn't think that Takeshita will drop the title before the Tokyo Dome.
I agree with that.
I don't think so either. But I still think we get a good match out of it.
Oh, yeah. This is a great chance for Hobbs to really show everybody.
All right. We've made it back to 2 women's matches on the pay-per-view. We were having a streak where we were only having one, or we were only having one title defense on the pay-per-views. But we've made it all the way back to 2. Apparently my mic is giving me issues still. Nikki said it keeps remixing her words and she feels like she's at a rave. So you're welcome for this experience. It's something new we're trying here with the robot overlords. So here we have,
we're embracing the robot future.
Yes.
We believe Skynet will become self-aware at some point. Shoot. Okay, sorry.
So we have Thunder Rosa, who has been in the crowd for some Mariah matches, having signs that say "Not my champion," things like that, because Thunder Rosa held up a sign from a fan that said that women's wrestling was alive and well. And then Mariah said in a promo, "No, it isn't, because I am the champion and nobody is as good as me. Nobody has been able to defeat me or even be on my level. So no, women's wrestling in AEW is not alive and well, because I am here." And Thunder Rosa was not having that. And so she challenged her to a Tijuana street fight. She has said that her dad will be in the crowd. Mariah said that she was going to be her new mommy. So, typical Mariah May things to say. So that's what we've got going on here. So, Keila, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm looking forward to this match. I have popped for Thunder Rosa in the crowd with the signs on Dynamite. Yeah. That has made me laugh, especially when Tony came back and the look she had on her face. I thought she was a secondary MVP of that segment. It was great.
That was great, yes.
Like, her reaction had me cracking up. Like, Thunder Rosa has a great face in terms of reactions. Mm-hmm. So I'm here for this match.
Yeah.
I expect violence, obviously, and I have a prediction that Mariah May is going to slap the piss out of Thunder Rosa's father in the crowd. I'm here for that. I expect this to be like mass violence, bruising. I am going to go with Mariah, obviously, to retain the championship, but I expect this match to be very, very, very good.
Yes. Mel, what are your thoughts on this one?
I am so excited to see Thunder Rosa back in a position like this and having her, because of who she is and what she can do. I agree. This is going to be like, thank God they're giving women more opportunities to do hardcore matches. Like, this is fun. This is a street fight. And these two are both, like, they've done stuff like this before. They've Mariah did plenty of that kind of crazy stuff in Japan. Like, this could be really, really interesting. It's could be a little bit of a like sleeper match here, like a show stealer a little bit. Like, I think it's in a good position because of like all the weirdness around it. And I think that it will stand out. I think this will be a standout match on the card at the end of the night, because
I think
Mariah is just killing it as champion. She really is. And I don't think that she's going to lose, because I think that when she loses, there's going to be a reason. It's either going to be Toni Storm getting it back or something to do with Toni Storm. I think Thunder Rosa could be in contention for whatever that future is. Huge. Mm-hmm. Maybe setting up for that. But I don't think tonight is that night.
Yeah. And you also Thunder Rosa is coming out like her and Deanna had the first ever women's Texas bull rope match. As far as definitely an AEW, but we've seen like earlier this year, Allie Catch in GCW, she had a Texas bull rope match against Mance Warner, and I believe that was one of the first. There's been mixed or there's been tag matches, women's tag matches, but I believe from what I've been able to find, they were the first women in a singles match to have a Texas bull rope match. Cool. I mean, it could be obviously it could have happened on the indies somewhere, that we may not be aware of, but it appears to be that they were the first women to have a singles bull rope match. Clearly the first in AEW to do so. So Thunder Rosa has been able to be a part of some really big things like that. Like she was in the first Lights Out match with Britt Baker. She was in a cage match with her. They've done the Anything Goes matches. So Thunder Rosa has been at the forefront of a lot of different matches in AEW. And so I feel like, even though I don't think she's going to win here, I think that they're setting her up to be a big part of the division in 2025, which is where she should be. And I really like what they're doing here. I think Mariah has been really great. I think she's very good at what she does. I think people still kind of underestimate her a little bit, which I don't know why you would, but I feel like they just think. I feel a lot of it is because of what she looks like that people are
just going to say it's her look. She's blonde
because of what she looks like. But because clearly she's beautiful. And I mean, I think Thunder Rosa is too, but I mean, I think that people underestimate her. And I think that I think Mariah almost needs a match like this to kind of show what else that she can do. But she's very good at what she does. And so is Thunder Rosa. And I'm really excited for this one. Mark says that he thinks that Mariah retains, and he wishes this, or he thinks this could be match of the night. Yeah, I think this could be a sleeper. For sure. And he said, I wish that there was more storyline. I mean, they have kind of rushed the story a little bit, but they did kind of play at, maybe they should have started a little bit sooner, but I think they got there in time. I mean, enough for this match to happen. But I understand what you're saying. And then USVA guy says that they are setting Thunder Rosa up for All In. But yes, absolutely, because All In is in Texas and is in her home state of Texas. Also home state of Athena, which, I definitely still think that they're planting seeds for Athena and Mercedes. They've been doing that. So I think that if I wanted to be so bold, and I'm also always cautiously optimistic when it comes to the women, All In is where you could have women main event. You can have Mercedes and Athena main event. You can have Thunder Rosa and whoever she's going after main event there. Will they do it? I'm not holding my breath, but it's we're going into 2025, and
because we want you
AEW is still the only major promotion that has not had women main event, and it's going into year 6. Like it's time.
And we're
now, I actually asked, going back to the Continental Classic, I asked Tony on Thursday, like with where the women's division is at, they seem to be probably the best they've ever been talent-wise. People keep asking for a Continental Classic with the women. Is that something we could see? And of course he immediately went to, well, it's a very grueling, brutal tournament, and we have to watch out for injuries. Like, I mean, I guess fuck the guys. I guess if you get injured, there's another one to replace you, because there's so many men on our roster. But he did say that they had some injuries with women the last couple of years. They finally are, they're trying to get everybody healthy. Obviously, there's Riho, there's Sheeta and things like that. So there's so many women that they've got enough women. The talent is there to do a Continental Classic. And I think it was Lady B made it. No, it was, I'm sorry, it was not Lady B. I think it was somebody else I was talking to. She said that while she likes the optimistic answer, she doesn't know that she trusts him to give them the time that they would need in tournament matches, which I would agree with. But it was probably the most optimistic answer I've gotten when I've asked about women's blood and gut matches and things like that. As always with anything with the AEW women's division, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think they'll main event a pay-per-view before they get a Continental Classic or a blood and guts match. Or maybe you could just main event and have them do a blood and guts match, but what do I know? So
if they just did the women's blood and guts Dynamite, they would put people off for a while, because you'd have a bunch of women's matches that were blood and guts matches the same way that you do in the blood and guts show. I mean, I've been to that show. Get them in the cage, let them do it. Like, why not? That would shut
So-
everybody up about a tournament.
Well,
You're
maybe
the
if
guy
you
that
didn't
like books a tournament every 5 minutes, but you can't book one for the women.
Yeah, and somebody was telling they were like book what did they tell me? They said to book the women's C2 for the spring, the Owen for the summer, and then the men's C2 where in the fall. And I was like, you know what? I will take that schedule.
That works.
I am happy for it. And Robert says that he was just Robert Hardy were defending their titles. I think they might be doing that at Fight for the Fallen. I think they might want a title match for the Max show, and I feel like that might be why they're holding off. And also, I learned something new this week. I learned that Isaiah Cassidy lives here in Charlotte. I had no idea until the Charlotte Observer did an interview they interviewed Private Party about ahead of a Collision coming next weekend, and that is how I find out. And apparently, when AEW was in Charlotte in 2019, Isaiah fell in love with the city and he moved here. So I don't know how long he's been here, but I was like, wow, learn something new every
You
day.
could have been shopping at the same market this whole time.
That could have been.
Never
Eddie
know.
says, do you guys think the Warner Brothers higher up are against some woman blood and guts? It's possible. I think it certainly could be. Warner Brothers could be part of it. Tony flat out said that they're the reason that Rampage went away. He said they wanted 4 hours of TV. They wanted Dynamite and Collision. And so, or I'm sorry, Warner Brothers and I guess Max wanted 4 hours of TV. So they're the reason Rampage went away. So perhaps they are.
Maybe they'll go for it now that they're on.
But I also think
streaming.
that there's maybe, but I mean, it
because
is also,
I mean, just the idea of like, you know, when you got the streaming services, cable and whatever, versus like the TV where, you know,
well,
they
they're
can't
still being
swear and they
simulcast.
can't have blood and guts and they can't do all those things. Maybe now that
Right.
it's on the streaming, they'll change their mind.
But it's being simulcast at the same time. It's still going to be on TNT and TBS as it's streaming on Max. They'll both be on at the same time. So I don't know that would change anything. Maybe if the pay-per-views get there, I don't know. So, but I mean, we've had up until this point, you know, and I mean, Warner Brothers has been their partner for a long time. So maybe, I mean, some of it is probably Tony and how he thinks the women should be booked, but maybe Warner Brothers could have some influence on that. That's certainly possible. That's part of it, but hopefully they will change their minds about that. But we will see. I'll just keep asking until it happens.
Right, moving on. Boom.
All right, so we have we're revisiting the story 1 year later from World's End last year, where Adam Cole was revealed to be the devil and to be the one who had been attacking behind all of this, one of the worst storylines in this company's history. And for some, we're revisiting that. And hopefully this is the end of it and we never have to talk about it again. Unless we're reviewing worst storylines in AEW history.
Is this the match that finally puts this to bed and we can all move on with our lives and pretend like we do with Chad Gable that never existed?
I hope so, because there's literally nothing else to do. They have milked the storyline. They barely got it to World's End to begin with. I mean, part of it, yes, was because MJF was off filming movies and things like that. So that definitely hampered the story. But it was a story that people didn't want revisited in the first place. So I hope that this is the end of it. That
I mean, this has a ton of build, obviously, so I wouldn't say it didn't have build. Like a lot of like some people were saying about the Tijuana match, but this sort of felt like all of a sudden they decided to swerve back into this and put it. Maybe I hope put it to like maybe there's guys. Okay, we're serious. We're done with this now. Like this one feels like forced. So. This feels like something that could have been the 0 hour and then switched with something else. I don't like this match more than the only match to me that's like it should be. I mean, I should be excited about this match. These are two good performers, and yet I'm just like,
shit.
Can we be done with this already?
The story should have been done a year ago. They should have just ended it there. Obviously, there are other factors and things like that, I guess they wanted to wrap it up at World's End, but I hope this is it. Now we have the Dynamite Diamond ring involved. MJF has had this ring for 5 years. No, they've done that. I believe we've done this 5 times now.
I think you're right.
This is either the 5th time or the 6th time, but
My
I think he's
sister
had it
is
5
a graduate
times, so,
gemologist. I
it's
want
time
her
for
to take a
MJF
look at that
it's
thing.
time for MJF to lose. It's time for him to lose the diamond ring. Adam Cole should win it. They've got to do something with Adam Cole. That's not this. And I don't know how they've got to do something with Adam Cole, which is mainly just getting him away from MJF. I think will do wonders for him. And then I guess there's the Kingdom storyline with, will he join them? Will he won't, or will he not? Will he join with Kyle O'Reilly? I'm not thrilled about her, but they got to have something for them to do, I guess. So I hope I don't know if I will be right. I'm going to go with Adam Cole finally wins. He gets his win over MJF. He gets the diamond ring to get it away from MJF and let MJF have something find another prop for him to use. Let Adam Cole have it for a while. And Keela, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, what a difference a year makes. A year ago, I loved both of these men. I loved them as a tag team. The Devil story happened and it jumped off a cliff into a train wreck over the Grand Canyon, and it is combusted everywhere. And ever since then, I have been lost. I've been in confusion. I live in a world where Adam Cole doesn't get the heat he deserves as a babyface. I live in the world where MJF is kind of stuck in the mud at the moment in terms of character work. So I'm looking forward to this match because it'll be the end of this. I want Adam Cole to win so he can retire the ring for good. I never want to see the ring again, honestly. It was a nice prop 5 years ago. Get rid of it. I want them away from each other forever. I never want them to interact again in life. I really mean that. I have been scarred by this feud. I want to forget it ever happened. And I really want both guys to go their separate ways and kind of reinvent themselves in 2025. I think both guys need a reboot and a refresh and find something new in 2025, preferably the hell away from each other.
Agreed with everything you just said.
Oh my
100%.
God, yes. Stamped.
Mel, what do you think?
Stamped, pass, the floor, yes. Everything Kilo said.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I hope that Adam Cole is the winner here. It makes sense. I think that this ring thing has run its course. I guarantee if I gave that to my sister to appraise, that she'd laugh out loud. So I kind of want to send her a picture of it so she'll laugh out loud anyway, because I love asking her about like silly jewelry like that, because you know she does serious jewelry but gets silly jewelry once in a while, and so I like sending her silly jewelry, being like, don't you think that this needs to be retired? She'd be like, that's an abomination, you're not allowed to do that. But and she's like, the least thing she'd say is that it's time for a redesign and they need a new ring and need a new gimmick with it and whatever. Like that's the story of MJF.
It's time. They're like that ring. It's time to retire the ring, retire the storyline. Let's give everybody a refresh. Keep them away from each other. Mark says that Adam Cole wins. It started at World's End. It should end at World's End. This is an interesting double turn for them, and it's understandable that injuries got in the way of finishing the story. Yes, they could have. I think they would have been okay to not finish the story. They could have left it in 2023. Hassan over here, trying to be negative Nancy over here, says the story is not ending tonight, and a turn is coming against Adam Cole.
Now you shut your dirty mouth. Don't say stuff like that, okay? I don't want that kind of negativity to end my new year or my year. It's not.
I don't want that on my World's End. What are you talking about? World is ending. The storyline is ending with it.
My world will end if he keeps going with this. I think. Oh my god. No.
And Vinkin said, I put this up on the screen, but Vinkin said the storyline is at the bottom of the sea together with the Atlantis. And also, before we get to this next match, I want to bring this up. So Netflix has been tweeting random people about obviously WWE coming in, and they've been tweeting different wrestlers as well. And Hassan says Layla Gray got tweeted by Netflix advertising Raw, and she quote tweeted it and promoted World's End. That's how you do it. Good for her.
See? Everybody pay attention to what Layla Gray is doing.
Yes.
Good for her.
Publicity. Yes.
That's it right there. Nice job. That's awesome. That is using the internet right.
That's great. Good for her.
More of this. All right, let's see here. A better end. All right.
Speaking of women's matches.
Hey, women's match. We got two on here.
This is interesting that we're doing this again this fast. Mercedes. So another rematch. We're getting lots of rematches on this World's End card. We're getting Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander 2. The first time around was excellent. I would say probably it was Mercedes' best match since her match with Stephanie Becker. At least in AEW. She's obviously had incredible matches under the New Japan banner. She just had a 5-star. I don't care what Dave said. She had a 5-star match against Suzuki at Strong Style Evolved. She is really I hope that she's finally clicking in AEW. For some reason, she's not quite done that, and it feels like she's starting to get there. I think brought out a lot in her. I think this is a really good match for Statlander too. Obviously, I thought her match with Willow was great. When I don't know what they're doing when they're revisiting the storyline with Willow, and her, I guess Chris is baby face again. I don't really know what we're doing here as far as that goes, but match wise, I think this will be a really good match. I expect it to be as good as the first one. Maybe it exceeds it. I don't know. But I do think Mercedes retains, especially going into Wrestle Dynasty, where she is. Is it Wrestle Kingdom or Wrestle Dynasty where she's wrestling? It was Mina. She's wrestling at Wrestle Dynasty, right? Where they're doing the New Japan title,
TBS title, or for the Strong title?
It's the Strong title and Mina's Raw title. It's title for title. So whoever wins that match leaves with the Strong title and the Rev Pro title as well. Oh well, I'll get to that comment in a minute. So Keila, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm surprised they're running this match back so quickly. I know that Full Gear was an incredible match for both ladies, and it kind of got Chris back as a full-blown babyface, which I'm here for, even though it was kind of abrupt because you have a great match. And I said, well, you know what? Let's flip back to being a babyface. This heel turn. What was that? So they've been doing that a lot lately, which I kind of get, but at the same time, nuance goes a long way. And I totally agree that Mercedes, I think, is finally figuring it out in AEW. And this last month or so has been incredible for her. The discourse I've been seeing on social media, like, now y'all trying to pick the time to come for Mercedes? Really? When she's delivering outstanding matches? Like, if this was 6 months ago, you have a case. Right. But now, not so much. Like, not when she's going generational, again, to remind you how great she is. Me and Mel had this conversation a month ago about if they don't deliver, we have questions, and they answered them fairly quickly. So I predict that Mercedes retains the championship. She's going to go to Japan, tear it up against Mina, and she's going to build, like, I think, a really strong case for being one of the very best in the world again. She's proving it. All we wanted to do was see it in AEW, because we know she's got it in Japan, but seeing it in AEW, where she's getting paid a lot of money, that was the thing that was lacking until recently. And I'm here for the renewal, the renaissance of Mercedes Moné.
Mel, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it makes sense for Mercedes to take that belt to the big shows, the Tokyo Dome, and to have that fight. And I think that keeping Chris Statlander in the forefront, they better do something with her after all this. I mean, they really need to use her also. I mean, I know that the women's division is tight right now, but like, so put her into something, like, and put her in a story, whether she's fighting back against the Death Riders or, I mean, because, I mean, it is a really fast turnaround for it, unless they're trying to put the TBS title on Chris Statlander, which I just don't, it doesn't make sense to me. So I think this is maybe trying to keep Chris Statlander in the forefront. They had a good match. They're going to repeat the match. They're going to keep reminding you that Chris is also here. It's not just because Mercedes is going to be doing a lot of other stuff. And they're going to need a different kind of, I mean, Chris Statlander is kind of a different kind of lady than all the other ladies right now. She's I don't know what that is. And I think that maybe it's almost like she's struggling to find her footing since the best friend situation and trying to figure out like exactly
I think they
who
turned her
she
too
is.
fast and they didn't know what they were doing. The turn has kind of messed her up.
I don't know, but she seems like someone that would be like, it'd be fun to see her start beefing with like Jamie Hayter or I don't know. I'm just throwing some of the names out there that are people that are great right now.
That could be something that they do after Jamie finishes.
Hopefully they'll use this to elevate her, and there could be some sort of shenanigans here, was something I was thinking also.
With who?
I don't know. But there are other people that.
Well, there have been rumors that there's been rumors that they're going to bring in the Renegade Twins to be to be her heater since Camille is not. So
well, I mean, Camille maybe comes in and messes the matchup, although I don't know if that would be the smartest thing.
I don't know that
for some reason I feel like there might be some. This may not be. Let's say it may not be the cleanest win ever. Even though,
I mean, that's fair. That's certainly possible that they could be setting up something for 2025 with this match. That's definitely something they could be doing here. I could see that. Or, there's also the Vendetta. They have, Taya and Diana are, getting involved in people's matches and things like that. So maybe they stick their nose in Mercedes' business. So there's always that possibility too.
Because of the quick turnaround, it does kind of scream potential like story.
Well, it just feels, I don't know why it almost feels like they had Mercedes maybe was supposed to wrestle somebody else and it didn't happen. It didn't work out. I don't know who that would have been, but it just seems like this match was kind of like, well, it was so good. Let's just do it again. It feels like there was no, I feels like Mercedes was probably supposed to wrestle somebody else. Yeah. And for whatever reason that didn't work out. And so they pivoted and went to Stat. But maybe it is, maybe like you said, maybe there's going to be some shenanigans and maybe it's going to set something up for, for them in 2025. So
I mean, Mercedes has trajectory. We know which direction she's going. We need to send Chris needs a story. She needs a direction. She needs like something to aspire to, someplace to. And she can't always be fighting for the TBS championship. Like she needs to be doing other stuff too. I know.
Laurent says that he thinks that this match ends in a draw.
I saw that comment and went, huh? Because that's interesting.
Laurent said that Mercedes, all she ever needed was competent opponents. Well, I mean, I guess you could make the argument that some of them were. Some of them just were not. Just depends on, I guess, how you look at it. It depends on who it is. Mark Justice says that Mercedes Moné, the GOAT, retains. I have a feeling that she's going to beat Jade Cargill's record as TBS champion. That's certainly possible. They may want to not erase that, but she's in another company now. So perhaps they do have Mercedes hold that title for, Mercedes. Jade had that title for over 500 days. Maybe they do. Maybe that's definitely something to keep in the back of our minds as as her story progresses. USVA's guy has some different thoughts. He says that this is just sad. The only reason Tony is running this match is because he doesn't want to be seen as less than a New Japan and Stardom. And let's see. I think we've got some. Let me see what else is going on over here. Okay. And so Laurent says that Mercedes doesn't need to be paired with anyone. I could see them doing the stuff with the Renegade Twins though, because that would be something to get the Renegade Twins back TV and to get them involved. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, Mercedes doesn't really need anybody, so I am also with that. She could be on her own. Lauren also says that the money is on Mercedes Statlander doing a trilogy, which that certainly they could do that. I don't think Chris, but you would want them to be you don't have to have a rubber match. I mean, you don't have to have them go into it 1-1. You could have Mercedes go into it 2-0, and then perhaps she drops the title to Stat in the trilogy, in the last match of the trilogy. There's that. Vinkin makes the point that if you're going to call yourself the CEO, you should have people under you. That's definitely a fair point as well. No, I know. No, I know she wasn't. That's why I was saying it depends on the people that you wrestle. But she's wrestled other people since. I mean, she's not the only one. Britt was definitely, the worst opponent she's had. And of course, Britt is also coming back from some serious complications and things like that. But the women's, as I've said, since she's been back, the women's division is a lot different than when she left it. And Britt has to find her, she's got to be healthy and find that. But then she's got to do the work and got to put herself in a position to be able to hang in the ring with these women. Because, I mean, look at somebody like Harley Cameron, who is using the best of her. She's using everything to her advantage. She's training with Mercedes some. She's training with different people. She's learning all kinds of styles and things like that. And you see the position she's been put in. So, and then you see, Penelope Ford has been gone for I think she was gone for almost 2 years or a year and a half. And she's come back and she's looked pretty solid since she's come back. You've got, I was just going to say, and then you have Ty Mello is getting ready to make her return she's going to be making her return in Stardom. She hasn't wrestled in 2 years, and she'll be making her way back to AEW as well. And who knows what she's going to look like in the ring as well. But you see what Jamie Hayter looks like coming off. I mean, of course she's Jamie Hayter, but she missed a ton of time due to action too. And you see how all these women have stepped up, and so Britt's got a lot of work to do. And of course, a lot of that also may be dependent on her health as well. And so I don't want to, say that that's not a factor, because I think that it is. But I also think she's got a lot of work to do if she wants to get anywhere near either of these titles ever, again. There's a lot she's got to do.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Vinkin says that Ty is teaming with Mina versus Athena and Thekla on Stardom's New Year's Dream Show. Yes, you're correct. I believe that's what it's called as well. But yes, that is where they are. They will be having a show together.
That sounds like a good match.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And I hope that it'll be interesting. I've been wondering where I knew Ty's been cleared for a while, like 4 or 5 months. And so I've been wondering when she was going to show up. And she's making her, and I believe this is going to be her. I believe in the video she posted the other day, I think this is her Stardom debut. Lauren asked, what did I think about Tony's answer to my doing a women's C2? I thought it was pretty much standard, as far as he always, when I mentioned blood and guts, the first thing he mentioned was basically they don't want people to get injured. So it feels like he feels like the women are fragile to an extent, because that's really, it's the first thing out of his mouth. It's a very grueling tournament. We're lucky we had one injury. Yes, that's true. But I mean, you're having street fights, and she got injured in a random match on Collision. Like Nikki said,
you should tell my dentist women are fragile, because you should tell my dentist that women are fragile, because my dentist told me one day, he told me that I had a high pain threshold, because he was like working on pulling a tooth at one point. He's like, I've had grown men jump out of my chair doing this kind of thing to them. So, because I was like, it's not that I wouldn't notice, but it's like, just really quick, for those of you who don't understand human biology, women are built to pass another human being through themselves. Like, we have to be able to endure that. So us getting a boo-boo in a match that we're trying to do, that's like, I just think what I don't like about it is you're asking people who are talent. That's part of their art form. So you're saying that they can't do hardcore matches. Like, they just can't, because they're girls.
Well, they get the street fights, and so that's it, I guess. They let them have that.
I mean,
but yeah,
you put together like the whole listen, I'm not coming down on that barbed wire death match. I actually again, that match was good up until all the shenanigans that happened at the ending.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's too much to ask to let the women explore their creativity the same way the men are allowed to. And I know it's weird for people to see ladies bleeding and all this stuff, but it's also go watch what you watch on TV. You got all the movies and television people consume. People are getting shot up and blown up and all. It's you don't care then.
Yeah, and so to go back to Laurent's question, so that was that annoyed me first when he it's okay when he went off on that. I mean, that was he did after he got past that part of the answer. He did seem more positive about it. I don't know if that's just him trying to placate me because I have asked this question before. I've asked about the blood and guts before. I've asked when women are main eventing before. And so I'm going to keep asking until we get them. So, but I feel so he did sound, again, with anything with a women's division in AEW, cautiously optimistic. He did say that they could keep everybody healthy. It's certainly a possibility, or he said, because at first he said a round robin tournament. So then he made it sound maybe not C2, but then he ended up, it did say that we could potentially see a C2 for the women. So it was a little bit more positive than other times when I've talked to him, but he did immediately go right. That was the first thing out of his mouth was, well, it's a very grueling competition. And I knew where he was going with it, because it's the same answer he gave about blood and guts, is that
girls can't get owies.
Well, but I do also think some of it is, sure, maybe Warner Brothers does play a part of it. I do think there are people who are involved in creative who came from WWE and do not like women in these positions. They don't want to see more women's matches. They don't want to see the women doing these type of things. And I think they're in his ear and perhaps influencing him. Not that Tony, and again, this is not saying that Tony can't make these decisions by himself. He, at the end of the day, he is the head booker. He decides what goes on TV and what doesn't. But there's certainly the possibility that people are influencing him and his decision. And so there could be multiple factors. Maybe it's not just Tony. Maybe it is Warner Brothers putting some pressure on them to not do these things. Maybe it is people in creative who are like, women don't need to be doing this. It could be a lot of different factors, or maybe it is just, Tony just thinks the women shouldn't do these. They should just leave them to the men. So,
I mean, maybe they think it's a bad look with the way that women are being treated right now in the popular culture or in the mainstream stuff. I mean, maybe they're trying to be, it's a delicate balance. I hope that most of the time, I would hope that they're getting the opportunities to do the kinds of things that they want to do with their ring. I would hope they're getting the same kinds of opportunities as their colleagues.
I just want them, I mean, more than anything, I do want them to have the blood and guts. I do want them to have the Continental Classic, but I just want them to main event a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're going into 2025 and we're still having to beg for that. And there should be no reason for it, especially when you've had Mercedes, who has main evented WrestleManias. You've had Deanna.
We're gonna have 12 pay-per-views.
You've had Deanna Prato, who's main evented like 5 times in TNA. You've had Athena has main evented ROH 3 times. There's no reason. You just had, even though it was a Strong Style show or Strong Style Evolve show, you just had Mercedes main event that. Like, there's no excuse for it. We're going into year 6. Like, it's got to happen this year. I mean, I know I said that this year too, but I just don't know why. Will be, well, before I get off on this rant, I will put Laurent's comment. Tony's stance is a bad look when you look at how things are trending in with women's sports in general. I would agree with that. I'm right there with you, Laurent. And so on that note, I guess we will go into...
Maybe that'll influence him in the future. Maybe that'll push him in the direction. Maybe as we continue with, like, obviously WNBA and some of the other women's volleyball, I mean, people are looking for competition. They're seeing it more with the women than they are with the men in the sports realm. So that's fun and good and cool, because women have been sporting for a long time. So, but maybe he'll like trend that way if sports continues to trend that way. Because
Yeah,
you got to go
I
where the
hope so.
money's
I don't
at.
know what it's going to take, but I guess if fans keep pushing him,
Cha-ching.
maybe he'll eventually cave if we just keep talking about it
It's
online
gonna
and on
take
here. And
it's gonna take it being worth him making money off of it.
well, I mean, he had a money main event and and Tony Storm versus Mariah May, but he didn't want to close all. I mean, I know why obviously Danielson ended up getting the title there, but I mean, he's had matches that could main event. He just hasn't done it yet. And so it's, he's got these stories and he can do it. And, I don't see how you have Mercedes and don't have her main eventing a pay-per-view when she's done it elsewhere. I mean, you can't get much bigger than main eventing WrestleMania. So have her main event one of your pay-per-views. Just do it. So on that, I think on that note, we'll just go ahead and go into the AEW World Championship match, which may or may not be the main event. If you missed earlier in the beginning of the show, Bleacher Report believes that the Continental Classic final will be the main event.
Yeah, I did have that there just in case. But
yeah, so we're not sure. We did already give our predictions for that one, so we will go with the AEW World Championship match, which is a 4-way. Jon Moxley will be putting his title on the line against Hangman Adam Page, Orange Cassidy, and Jay White. Keila, what are your thoughts on this one?
I expect this to be a great match. I see we have Darth Cassidy in the building, babyface Jay White. We have like the quasi babyface Hangman Adam Page and Psycho Jon Moxley in the mix here. And I think it's going to be like a great collection of talent delivering a great match. But I think we have to have the conversation about the Death Riders storyline ongoing in AEW. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know, what are we fighting for? Who's on whose team at this juncture? I'm a little bit in confusion because it feels like it's siloed away from everything else in AEW and it's isolated between these 4 guys. And I'm a little bit in confusion. Darby's on the outskirts, obviously, and he's trying to bring in Will in the fray as well. But it feels like for a company that is on the brink, apparently, according to Jon Moxley, where's the fight collectively amongst everybody else? That's all I'm saying. Main event should be good. Mox is retaining for obvious reasons. But I think heading into next year, we need a clearer story about what's going on.
Yeah, it is kind of got very convoluted and kind of off track. I feel like it's still, I don't think it's as bad as the Devil storyline. I think it's still salvageable. There's a lot of moving parts. I think they are getting over more people with this story, but it is kind of a mess a little bit. But I think they can get it back on track. Mel, what are your thoughts on this one?
Until Keila just said it, I didn't realize that is really true. There is kind of a lot of, because I feel like Adam Page, Orange Cassidy, and Jay White are all really standing out right now. Like, I would take any one of these guys potentially in the coming year to Jay White is a champion. He's been the IWGP heavyweight champion before, and he held that belt. Like, I watched Okada beat him. It was he is really great and it's useful. All of these people have meaning, and so now it's like, yeah, what Mox is keeping the belt. I definitely believe that he wins this.
Me too.
I'm trying to figure out what are we showing? So the match has to be a showcase of something for each of the other individuals that are in here as to where they're headed.
And I think that you could put the title on any of these men, and I think they all bring something. And Tony even mentioned that on the call, or he talked about it. They all bring something different to the table, but they can all be champion in their own way for various reasons. I don't think it's now. I feel like the story is not going to be ending anytime soon. I do think Jon Moxley retains. However, now that my Kenny Omega theory has moved to Jeremy's theory, I do also feel like Samoa Joe is coming back. Samoa Joe won the world title at World's End last year. He beat MJF to become champion. He is done filming his movie. He is ready to go. I feel like he's coming back tonight. And then last night, what I maybe it means nothing, but Jon Moxley, before he killed Rampage, said that he was the king. Samoa Joe was calling himself the king of television when he was the ROH television champion. And he had the ROH, I mean, he had the TNT championship that he had at the same time when he was holding both belts. I don't know if that was a reference to when he called himself the king. I don't know for sure if it's a reference to Samoa Joe, but it definitely made me raise an eyebrow and wonder if that was a reference to Samoa Joe. I don't know. Samoa Joe, some other projects lined up. Obviously, we saw it happen with MJF. It's possible that he does it. I don't know how long he's expected to be back when he comes back. Do they put the title on him again? Maybe, but I would not be surprised if to kind of join the AEW side of things away from the Death Riders. I would not be surprised to see Samoa Joe get in the mix. Of course, we also have the factor of Christian Cage. Christian Cage has that
that's right.
contract
That was the other
he
thing.
can cash in. I have heard there's a rumor that he will not cash it in as long as Jon Moxley is champion, that they are saving that for when someone else is champion. Not necessarily that he'll win, but like he's apparently just like not going to be cash in on Jon Moxley. And we've seen it so far. It's been stopped several times. Like Kip Sabian has stopped it. Adam Copeland is probably, I expect him to be back at Fight for the Fallen. Does he get involved to stop Christian from becoming champion and cashing in at some point? Perhaps there's that storyline that they could do. They could revisit Adam Copeland and Christian at some point. Is it while Jon Moxley's champion? I don't know. So there are other factors. I mean, there's Christian is here. You've got Kip Sabian kind of in that story with Christian. Samoa Joe is supposed to be back at some point, even though we kind of resigned ourselves to Kenny Omega versus Okada. Omega's on his way back. There's still Darby. A lot of people are pushing for Darby to be the one to beat Jon Moxley. So that's certainly possible too. So there's all these other factors. So I feel like that's why Jon Moxley retains tonight. But I do feel like it's also going to elevate Jay White, Orange Cassidy, and Hangman into whatever stories they're telling. Swerve's not on this card tonight. He's a former champion. Perhaps Swerve gets involved somewhere.
The Hurt Syndicate isn't on this card anywhere either, which is weird.
I'm sorry, who did you say?
The Hurt Syndicate has not been on. I noticed as I was putting it together, I was like, that's weird. They've been pushing them like crazy on all the shows, and they're just not on the show at all. Yeah. So it was weird to me actually when I found out, like, because I feel like I found out later than everyone else. Like, I was like, oh wait, it's going to be a 4-way, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute,
yeah.
Like. That kind of, I mean, not in a bad way. It just surprised me that they changed it and turned it into a 4-way.
Yeah, it's been a 4-way for a few weeks, though.
It's weird. I don't know why I thought that. But yeah, the outlier of the suitcase, the briefcase is always there. And whatever, but.
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that could happen here.
I think Keila and I talked about Samoa Joe coming back and setting things right because he's the real dad of everything, and he was going to come back and put everybody in their place.
Yeah, and so I will go. So we have some thoughts in the comments from who they think might take this or who they would like to take it. Colin says that his vote is Jay White. We have Hassan who hopes it's Hangman. Vinkin hopes that it is Jon Moxley. Or he thinks it's Jon Moxley. Maybe he doesn't hope. Maybe that's who he thinks is going to win. Let's see here. Nikki says that Moxley retains, but lots of shenanigans happen. Robert asks also if Christian Cage cashes in tonight. And Vinkin said he depends on if Copeland is healthy. I believe Copeland has been cleared. I think he's coming to help FTR against the Death Riders, which is another factor because FTR obviously obviously the big Fight for the Fallen show is in Asheville. FTR lives in Asheville. Adam Copeland does too. That's where I think Adam returns. I think he returns at Fight for the Fallen. He's going to help them. But if FTR was attacked by, then that's another layer that you've got. Adam Copeland could get into this storyline, which also has Christian at the other end of it. So something could play out. Maybe we do revisit Adam Copeland and Christian through this storyline. So there's definitely that can happen. Too, Robert says that he thinks that Moxley is gonna win. And Hassan forgot about Christian Cage. Laurent says that they don't ever need to do another story about the soul of AEW again. Put the title on Hangman and run Hangman versus Jay White at the Australia show. Mox as champion is boring to me. Fair. I love all of them. I would not be mad at Hangman versus Jay White in Australia. That would actually be a really good one. That would be a really good match. I mean, we've already seen them get their matches, but if there's a title involved, that can make things different. We have Son says that Kip Sabian and Mama Wayne should wear the same hairstyle. And Nikki says that they should coordinate their outfits and their accessories. Well, we know that the Death Riders are fans of the medium shirts, except for Pac doesn't wear one. Hassan says the AEW should stop doing year-long stories and make them maximum 2 months. Vingan says that today could be when Ricochet joins the Hurt Syndicate, which is definitely a good point. And then I think we've made it through predictions. So yes, so I think we've gone through, everything on the card.
Which, like we said,
we have this one, which may or may not be the main event. Maybe it's an ultimate match. We'll see. Our prediction.
That's where we stuck it. Let me see if I think get us back in a normal
Yeah,
spot. Here we go.
Yeah, if we're going by Bleacher Report's card, that's what we're going with. So, Kilo, what do you think is going to be the match of the night?
Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. So many possibilities. We talked about Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, Teshka, Powerhouse Hobbs, Mariah May, and Thunder Rosa, Mercedes, and Chris. I have no idea, but if I had to pick something as a show stealer, potentially, we know Ospreay's going to do what he's going to do, but I suspect that Mariah May and Thunder Rosa could have a potential match of the night candidate. They're just going to go out there and just maximize their minutes, go balls to the wall, have a great match. I think this is where we probably would have gotten if we got Mariah versus Anna Jay when they could have been on the pay-per-view Full Gear, but I think they'll get a bit more time to really showcase how good they are. But any of these matches I mentioned before has the potential to be a show stealer tonight. It's hard to say.
She stole mine. That's what I was going to say.
So what do you think?
Kilo totally stole mine. I really believe that Mariah May match is going to be that versus Thunder Rosa is going to be a special match. I think that they're going to take their opportunity. Those are two women that know what that means. And I also think Takeshita and Hobbs has a lot of potential for, especially Hobbs. I think that that's a real chance for him to have a good, I'm on a pay-per-view. I'm going to get the best of this guy. This is a really solid wrestler. He could really show everybody what he's really capable of and make it more indisputable that he has to be part of the main stories that are going on right now. So that would be my other sleeper.
I think you're right about that. I think that's going to end up surprising a lot of people. And I think, obviously Mercedes stat was really good at Full Gear. I think they're going to be good again, but I feel like Mariah and Thunder Rosa, I think, might steal the show. I think they're going to have, I do think the Continental Classic, both the semifinal matches will be really, really good. I've really enjoyed this tournament. They've had some really great matches. I'm kind of surprised, unless he's injured, that Beach is not anywhere on this card. I know he finished with 0 points, but he nearly beat Okada. Beast Mortos really showed out and had some really good matches. And so unless he's been added to 0 hour and I haven't seen it yet, or maybe he's dealing with an injury, I'm a little surprised that he's not involved somewhere. Or perhaps he is. Maybe he gets involved somewhere else. I mean, I don't know when LFI is supposed to be coming back. I know I think was some stuff going on with Roosh and Charlie. I can't remember why. I can't remember if there's been injuries or something, so they've been off TV. So perhaps they're keeping Beast Mortos off until that. I don't know, but I really think Mariah versus Thunder Rosa is going to be great, and I think that, of course, the final for the C2 I think is going to be really good. Like, this is a really solid card. I mean, even though I'm not thrilled for MJF versus Adam Cole, like I think they'll have a good match. Just because they're both good wrestlers and they have chemistry together. We've seen that, but so that's probably the match I'm looking forward to the least, just because I don't like the storyline. I think like this is a really, really solid card. And then do we have any bold predictions we want to throw out there?
I'm stealing Steven and Jeremy's bold prediction too. I think Kenny Omega shows up with the Okada thing. Just because I love that idea.
Yeah.
So I'm jumping on that bold predictions bandwagon. How about that's I mean, just because I want that so bad. I want that match. Everyone wants that match. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I want that too. Keila, do you have any other thoughts you want to add?
I think that this show is going to cap off a really strong pay-per-view year for AEW. I know the TV's been hit or miss, but I will say that the Continental Classic has provided a lot of juice in the last month or so. I think it's the best concept that AEW has once a year. Yeah. It's a well thought out tournament.
Agreed.
It leaves you in suspense. The matchups are great. It gives you a reason to tune in to Dynamite and Collision more often, to give you a reason to say, okay, these matches are dream matchups. You rarely get to see them on the weekly television show, and you only get to see these matchups once a year to close out the year for AEW. I just think that if they can book a tournament like this that is tailor-made for December, I want that kind of across the board in terms of storytelling throughout the year, to make sure each month, each quarter means something. And as we got to at the main event with Moxley and Hangman, and alongside Jay White and Orange Cassidy, 3 of those guys are going to be over heading into next year as well. But the story, I just want them to refocus on that, because we go back to the Elite and Tony Khan and the fight and soul for AEW. Where did that go? So I need them to figure out, what is the Mox story? What are we fighting for? What's the intent? What's the purpose here? And kind of get us on track here. Like, great character work. Now you got to thread the story together. And I think that was a hallmark for AEW during the early days of this company. If you want to tell a story,
absolutely,
you got to hit every beat to make it make sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Laurent says that whatever match Ospreay is in, along with 2 women's matches, will steal the show. And that was something else. Sorry, let's see. Vincent says that if you're going to end the pay-per-view with a final, it's either Ospreay Okada or Ospreay Ricochet. Robert said that he predicts that it's going to be Ospreay Okada as well. And Hassan said he hopes that Jack Perry, it keeps going away, that Jack Perry will join Moxley. I feel like that's where Jack Perry is going. I think he's joining the Death Riders, especially after the Young Bucks showed up at Strong Style Evolved and we're like, hey, what's up? And they talk backstage and they're like, he was like, where have you been? And they're like, oh, we're stay-at-home dads. We're working from home. We have to pick up the kids. We have to go grocery shopping. And Jack is like, I got tied to the front of a van. I lost my title. Like, where the F have you been? And so I feel like he feels abandoned. But then Jeremy also made the point that Jack could just do House of Torture things, and he's got a match coming up as well in Tokyo, so perhaps he just does House of Torture shenanigans over there, which is certainly possible as well. And then they do have to, at some point, they have to contend with the fact that Hangman was kicked out of the Elite, but so was Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega is going to have to deal with that. So maybe he deals with that before he does anything with Jon Moxley. Maybe he revisits the stuff with the Bucks. Perhaps Omega and Hangman rekindle their tag team and figure out and talk about why they were they were kicked out of the Elite while they weren't around. So there's definitely some stories that they could tell next year if they could just thread it all together, as Keela said. And so I think before we go, I do want to remind you that tonight, after the pay-per-view, make sure that you come back here because they will be doing the Fight Game podcast with Garrett and John LaRocca will be happening tonight. So make sure that you come back for that. And then, of course, Keela, you can plug your stuff as well.
Yes. So we're off next week, Scott and I, as we do the wrap every Wednesday morning on the Fight Game Media Network. We talk about the week that was in WWE. Very excited about Raw's debut on Netflix next Monday, January 6th, followed by New Year's Eve for NXT on January 7th. We're running a live show that Tuesday night, talking about both shows in LA. It's going to be a lot of fun as the road to the Royal Rumble in February. Yes, February begins. The longest month of our lives is upon us, but we'll be okay.
It's gonna be. It feels like the Royal Rumble is. So we were talking about that last night in the Wrestling Inc. Slack about how it seems so far away for the Royal Rumble this year because it's February 1st this year. And then also, you and Scott just did a show, correct? Yesterday.
Yes, with Gigi and John LaRocca for the Fight Game Media for Wrestling Observer. So we basically did like an NXT draft as we gave our top 3 picks as to who we think could make it to the main roster in 2025. Everybody's picks varied, some shocking picks in terms of where people landed, but I think it really speaks to the depth chart of NXT and how they can help the main roster. And I think because of what we have now in WWE, NXT prospects won't flounder, thankfully.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, so definitely go check that out because that is available. I believe that and you can still find that if you on this YouTube channel. So go check that out. And then obviously, speaking of Strong Style, they just did their Wrestle Dynasty, Wrestle Kingdom preview that I was a part of. So you can always go check that out. But make sure you come back here. There's tons of good stuff here and on the Fight Game Media feed. We definitely try to keep all kinds of content for you here. And thank you for everybody for watching today. We will be back at our regular time on Sunday next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And hope everybody has a happy and safe and healthy new year. And we will see you next week. I think you're muted.